Why? Big enough?
All right, everybody.
There are
Welcome
times.
to the City Commission meeting of February 14th, 2023. Happy Valentine's Day. I call this meeting to order. Val, please call the roll.
Commissioner Penny, Commissioner Curry,
Here.
Commissioner Danio,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Mayor Villa.
Here, and I'll ask you all to please silence your cell phones at this time or any electronic devices that may make noise, and ask you all to please stand for the invocation led by Commissioner John Danio and continue standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
When I found out that I was doing the invocation on Valentine's Day, I thought, good Lord, I'm going to have a field day with this one here. But anyway, quick brief history on the Valentine's Day that took place in Paris around the year 1400. It was originally celebrated centuries earlier as a pagan festival, hence the Greek mythology angelic figure of Cupid, who is to inspire love and passion by shooting his arrows through the hearts of the unsuspecting men and women of the time. However, thanks to commercialism and this country's insatiable appetite for material things, Valentine's Day has turned out to be quite an expensive ordeal. Would you believe that this country spends over $26 billion on Valentine's Day? $2.5 million of that is on candy alone. We will exchange roughly 145 million cards, second only to Christmas, with teachers receiving the most, believe it or not, because they get about 20 to 1 kids in their class. And the country will grow somewhere between, or somewhere in the neighborhood of about 250 million roses, most of them to keep men out of doghouses. And while we're on the subject of doghouses, statistics show that 1 in 5 animal owners will buy gifts for their pets. That's a lot of arrows. All right, anyway, let's pray. Lord, we are a spoiled country sometimes, but for some reason you allow to bless us in that way. So I just ask that we be responsible. I mean, when you got a country that spends over $1 billion in pet gifts, but I guess you're trusting us to be good stewards, and I just pray that we're responsible tonight in this meeting, that you would give us some clarity and some wisdom to continue to make decisions for this great city. I pray for all those that are in need. I ask that you hear their prayers and answer them accordingly, God. And we just lift up this meeting to you, and we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Danio. We got to remember, if it's a holiday, to not let you get the prayer. I'm kidding. I always like your insight.
I like these little fun
I
facts.
do. How much was $20 billion for?
$6 billion this year they expect spending.
And a lot of that is, I think, from me, because I have my my princesses, my daughters that I have to take care of, and my wife's birthday is February 14th. So
no.
double the presents. So
There's $1 billion right there.
there's almost. But thank you very much for that, Commissioner Danio. I only kid, of course. And now we will go ahead and recess the City Commission meeting and convene as the CRA. And on our CRA agenda tonight, number 1 is 2023-R-7. Mr. Simpson. Or actually, throw it right over to Mr. Forte.
Or, I can read it, doesn't matter.
Okay, you can read it.
Resolution 2023-R-7 by title only for first and only reading. Resolution of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with AT&T to move forward with Phase 3 utility overhead to undergrounding along Ridgewood Avenue from Walker Street to the northern city limits, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Mr. Forte.
Mayor, so the City Commission has authorized the staff to move forward with Phase 3 of the utility underground along Ridgewood Avenue from Walker Street to the northern city limits. AT&T is one of the utilities that would be relocated from the FPL pole, I shouldn't say the FPL pole, let's say from the power poles, Roy corrects me all the time, to the underground conduits. The attached agreement will authorize AT&T to move forward with the design and the relocation of the facilities into the provided conduits to be installed by a contractor for the city. The cost for this relocation includes engineering, material costs, construction labor, and contractor costs bringing the total to $435,731.22, excluding miscellaneous costs, which are unknown until the construction is complete. So at this time, that's the figure that we'll go with, but we know that over time, that number will increase, whether it's due to miscellaneous items or obstacles or things that get in the way, but it's never a locked-in price, I can tell you that.
Thank you, Mr. Forte. Are there any questions for staff from the commission? Seeing none, I'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Johnson and a second from Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Now, we will adjourn as the city commission, as the CRA, and reconvene as the city commission. And we will move to number 5, which is public comments. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on anything not on our regular agenda tonight? Seeing none, I will close public comments. Excuse me. And we will move to the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the January 24, 2023 workshop and January 24th, 2023 regular city commission meeting. Are there any changes to the minutes? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from Commissioner Curry, a second from Commissioner Danio. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak on the minutes? Seeing none, we will close public participation and take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries 4-0. Now moving to number 7, which is our consent agenda, items 1 through 9. Would a city commissioner like to remove any item on the consent agenda? The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless the city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll close public comment on the consent agenda, and I will entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve all 9 items.
Second.
We have a motion to approve all 9 items on the consent agenda from Commissioner Johnson and a second from Commissioner Danio. No discussion is required. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries 4-0. Now we're going to move to our regular agenda tonight, and the first one is Resolution 2023-R-16. Mr. Simpson.
Resolution number 2023-R-16, by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the fiscal year 2022-2023 annual operating budget, amending project carryover funds from the fiscal year 2021-2022 to the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget, setting forth revenues and expenditures, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Forte.
I'm going to turn it over to Susan. If you have any questions, we can
Okay.
answer them for you.
Mrs. Lincoln, can you come forward? Is there anything you want to add to the commission, not in our agenda?
No,
Okay.
The agenda or the exhibit that was published with the agenda explains the carryover for the projects.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lincoln. Are there any questions for staff?
No.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
We'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the city commission on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Danio and a second from Commissioner Curry. Any discussion needed? Did you say yeah?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries 4-0. Now we're moving to number 2. It's a request for a lien reduction on 642 Center Ave. Mr. Forte.
The city received a request for a code enforcement lien reduction that was placed upon the real property at 642 Center Avenue. The property is currently owned by Susan Decker. The original code enforcement code violation of Section 26-61, paren 2, went before the special master on October 16, 2020. A repeat violation of Section 26-61, paren 2, as well as violations of Section 82-131, lack of a development permit, went to the special master on May 12th of 2022. The special master's conclusion of law indicated that the violations had not been corrected, and if not corrected by a specific date, would incur a fine on the property of $50 per day per violation. The order of lien has applied a special master fee of $500 plus $50 per day per violation against the property. As of the request for a lien reduction, the amount of the lien was $18,000 plus administrative costs. The property is not in compliance. However, the buyers have entered into a memorandum of understanding to have the lien reduced and paid for and the property brought into compliance. I negotiated with the property buyer for an agreed-upon settlement of $2,549.33. In your packet, there's a copy of the memorandum, the agreement that I have with the buyers on when they're going to have the property brought into compliance. And this is actually one of those situations where there's going to be multiple buyers because they're flipping the contract. So all persons that are involved with the purchase have signed this agreement, and they're going to be going to closing at the end of this week, and they'll get the property into compliance probably within 30 days, although we've given them 60 days to do that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Forte. Are there any questions for staff?
Joe, is that why we're doing this one differently than the next one where they're already in compliance? Because they're on a time crunch?
Yeah, different scenarios. This is a buyer who's going to buy a property out of compliance and bring it into compliance, and there's a memorandum of understanding to do that. The next one is actually a property that's in compliance, and we're just
So
reducing.
who's responsible if they don't get it into compliance?
If they don't get into compliance, the original lien goes back onto the property.
It stays on the
It
property.
stays on the property. We don't
Oh,
reduce
but it'll already have been sold, wouldn't it?
we don't release the lien until,
Oh, we don't release it until
Right,
it does
until
come
it's
into
in compliance.
compliance. But we're reducing it.
we're reducing it, they pay it, they bring it into compliance, then we release it.
And if they
We're
don't,
contingent
we go
on
back
the-
to the other,
No, it's a contingent reduction. It's contingent on them doing certain things. And that is bringing it into compliance and paying the agreed-upon reduced fee by a certain date. If they don't do that, then we don't release the lien and it stays on the property.
does it go back to the original amount?
Doesn't matter who owns the
Oh, yeah,
property.
it goes back to
It
the
goes back to the
amount.
original amount and it
Oh, it does?
If
Oh, yeah.
they don't.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. If it goes back to the original amount, so they got a little, okay.
Yep. You good?
Yeah.
All right. Any further questions? With that, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this lien reduction? Seeing none, we'll close public participation, and I will entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion for approval as stated in the agenda by Commissioner Johnson, a second from Commissioner Curry. All those in favor, any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries 4-0. Number 3, we have another request for a lien reduction on 1027 Daytona Avenue. Mr. Forte.
The city received a request for a code enforcement lien reduction that was placed upon the real property at 1027 Daytona Avenue. The property is currently owned by Milan Mitek. There were 2 special master hearings dealing with this property leading to this lien. The first hearing was on December 17th, 2020. The violations noted included Section 26-61, paren 2, accumulations of trash and debris, and the IPMC 302.8 motor vehicles. The second special master meeting took place on July 21st, 2022, which included violations of 26.61 and the IMPC 302.4 for weeds and exterior maintenance, 302.8 for motor vehicles, Section 14-3 for damage to structures, Sections 82-131, development permit requirements, and IPMC 304.1 for exterior structure. The special master's conclusion of law indicated that the violations had not been corrected, and if not corrected by a specified date, would incur a fine on the property of $50 per day per violation. The order of lien has applied a special master fee of $750 because it had gone to the special master multiple times, plus $50 per day per violation against the property. As of this request for lien reduction, the amount of the lien was $43,750 plus administrative costs. The property is currently in compliance and eligible for a lien reduction. I negotiated with the property owners for an agreed-upon settlement price of $3,234.47. This In this case, I used 5% rather than my typical 10%. This is an 86-year-old man who's had health problems and has traveled out of state. He's just had the life of Job this last year between having, what is it called, extended COVID, and then he had a heart attack, and then he had stents put in, and he had an infection. He had to go back up. Then he had some other personal items going on, and he's literally just had more surgery last week. So if you ever have a bleeding heart for somebody, this was the guy. So even at 32, 34, it's still a lot of money for him. The property's in compliance, so.
Yep, and I'll just remind the commission that the goal here is compliance, not to make money.
This one
That's
is
not
in
where-
compliance at least.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll open it up to the commission for any questions.
Is this a house up on, that's right up here, that has all the boards on all the windows?
It's diagonally, it's just north of the fire. It's almost like across from the Boys and Girls Club.
Those ones back up, you got like plywood on all the windows and all that, I was talking about.
I'm not sure which one that is. That might be the one that's actually south of 10th Street.
Is it abandoned?
I don't know, I just came by, it's had new plywood on all the, every window around the house and all.
'Cause we don't allow that, it's a fire
I'm
hazard.
not sure which one that is.
If you used to go up there, you wouldn't miss it.
Hmm.
You wouldn't even have to be looking for it.
Most likely, they're probably already cited and going through the process.
It might be the same place.
All right, is that everything, Commissioner?
That's
All right, with that, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone that wants to speak on this lien reduction tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public comments, and I'll entertain a motion for approval as stated in the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Curry and a second from Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries 4-0. Now we're moving to our public hearings. And number one is ordinance 2023-0-3059 for second reading. Mr. Simpson.
Ordinance number 2023-0-3059 for second and final reading by title only. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending Chapter 3, Enforcement of the Holly Hill Code of Ordinance to provide the city with a process to abate nuisances listed in Section 26-61, Special Items Declared a Nuisance of the Holly Hill Code of Ordinances, providing for notice to the property owner, providing for collection of costs incurred, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Walker.
Mayor, Commission, staff has nothing to add to this item as there have been no changes, and staff continues to recommend approval. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any questions for staff? And nothing's changed since first reading.
No, sir.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. All right, with that, we will open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I will close public comments, and I will entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to
I'll
approve
second it.
from Commissioner Danio and a second from Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion needed?
I think it's great.
All right. Anything else? All right. With that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries 4-0. Now moving to communications. City Manager, Mr. Forte.
Two items. One is, I'll let you know that the State of the County invitations came out today, got them through V-Card. I did contact the county manager's office and got official invitations out. So I took the liberty of registering all of you for Friday the 28th, I'm sorry, Tuesday the 28th, for that lunch. Now, if you can't go, that's okay, but I didn't want to lose the opportunity to at least get everybody registered. So you're all registered, and you'll probably have something in your emails about it.
Yeah, I never got the invite, but I got that I'm registered.
Yeah,
to go,
I thought-
so.
I took care of that today.
Did the county manager say anything about invites going out to cities or not?
No, I spoke to the assistant, his executive assistant, and she just sent me the invites. I got it first from V-Card. That's when I registered. Right after that, I got the notice back from the county manager's office. So it seems like that I don't know who received invitations directly or not.
Very interesting, yeah.
So we're
Well,
all
thank
set.
you.
The second thing I wanted to mention is that we went out to bid for our street paving this year. We had 6 roads that we were going to repave, and we had $640,000 roughly in the budget for paving, but the bids came back at over $800,000. So I've asked Antoine to get back with with Mead and Hunt to see if they can come up with alternatives. So we could either pave some of the roads that we have on the list this year, or we can wait until we get the next round of funding and do them all the next time. I'm kind of the opinion that we should kind of keep the momentum and go ahead and do what paving we can this year, and then next year as the funds come in. You remember, one year we do the engineering on it, and the next year we do the paving. And I'd rather not skip a year if we don't have to. So I can tell you what streets they are, but we're going to get a recommendation from Mead Hunt to which ones are the bigger priority. So even though we may think it's one way, they may think it's another. So it was 12th Street between Ridgewood to Riverside, 15th Street from Linda Avenue to Hammock Drive, 3rd Street from Riverside to Ridgewood, Avondale from 7th to 10th Street, Cordova between Flomish and Grand Street, and Cherokee Ranch from 10th to the north dead end. So as soon as I get a recommendation from Mead Hunt, we'll probably have something for you at the next commission meeting, but I want to at least make you aware that, our expected costs are significantly higher than what we're anticipating.
Yeah, I want to move forward this year, Joe. I want to, because of how long it takes from us saying yes to actually getting the pavement down. And the longer we wait, the more opportunity we give the road to degrade even further. So I agree with that. Yes, sir.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. He gave you the floor.
Thank you.
Ladies first.
You're my vice mayor tonight.
Yeah.
It's Valentine's
That's
Day.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
I agree with you about continuing to move forward, not only for the reasons you stated, but costs are only going to go up.
Right.
If anybody thinks costs are coming down, they're sadly mistaken. So costs are just going to go up. We might as well keep going with what we have.
Right.
I'm kind of hoping they'll come down, but
Keep hoping all you want. I was going to say, you said we have 640 and 800?
640 is what we had approximately in the budget.
And it's 800?
Came in over 800.
I mean, it's not like terribly more. I mean, is that 5 roads out of 6 that we can get done, or depends on the road? I mean,
Maybe 4 roads out of 6. I don't know.
Depends
if
on what
Mead
Mead Hunt comes
and-
back and
Yeah,
says.
it tells us what it's going to be.
4 out of 6 is better than none out of 6. I mean,
Yeah, I think we should do something.
yeah.
All right. Any further comment? All right. You don't need to vote for that, right?
No.
Just
No,
consensus?
we're going to come back to you at the next meeting with
Okay.
the recommendation on what we're going to do.
Great. Thank you.
That's all I had.
One more. You got seek direction on a citizen.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So you've all talked with Mr. Legere, who's not here tonight, and
Hide under
he
the
had,
table.
he had brought up a couple of times this idea of a citizens committee, and I spoke with him myself, and I said, look, I'll do whatever the commission wants me to do. So I thought, if the commission is in support of doing something, maybe we should bring it to a work session first, because even Mr. Legere doesn't quite know what the makeup of what this committee would be, or what their responsibilities would be. So I wanted to put it out here officially to see if the commission wants me to schedule a work session, and even invite Mr. Legere to that work session for his thoughts, and see where it plays out from there.
Yes, sir.
Since I was the one that kind of set this in motion, it was only because at the time, we had 3 extra people that wanted to get involved, which we never seemed to have. It's like pulling teeth, like, I think John Penny used that term. And I thought, well, if we got a few extra people that are interested in helping the city in some way or another, maybe that would be a good opportunity. Not realizing that there's a lot of red tape involved, according to a couple people I've talked to, about having somebody on staff for minutes and other things. I mean, I was just thinking kind of a low-profile group of people that wanted to participate in something. But I wasn't trying to get or put more work on staff or anybody else for that matter, so. For
Yeah.
what it's worth, okay.
I hear you on that, and I've batted around this idea for almost all the time that I've been in office here, and I'm now seeing more people wanting to get involved and to do something, and I've been trying to find out what would be worth having a member of staff, what type of board to oversee some things before it comes to the city commission and come up with new ideas, give us their opinions on that so that we can take that in. And I haven't gotten all the way there yet, but I liked the idea of a citizens committee. I'm not even fully sure of what exactly they could do. I have ideas of they can look for, opportunities to promote the city, also maybe do community cleanups and things like that, but those things don't require necessarily a board, and those aren't things that necessarily we're going to be voting on. So, what we did with the seaplane base is we had a board for the seaplane base that I served on at the time, and we met probably half a dozen times, and it wasn't a sanctioned board through the city, but it was definitely a board that was just put on through what was it? Doc, right?
Yeah, Doc,
Mr.
actually,
Baylor,
ironically,
yeah.
I spoke with him yesterday.
Did you? He's actually a commissioner now.
In Crescent City.
Yeah, in Crescent City.
He's
good
going to be
for
running
him.
for mayor. But the FAA just approved this landing strip again, so it's been renewed, but he called about putting together another competition barbecue over at Sunrise Park. But anyway.
Cool. Well, let's make sure to get it done. But so I think that maybe, to your point, maybe we could encourage and even facilitate that, meaning allow City Hall to be used as a meeting space, and community members that want to come together to put something together. And I think that those people come with ideas of, hey, this is how we can possibly make the city better. With that being said, I don't know then at that point if we have one representative of the commission to serve on that or oversee it, or if we have maybe Mr. Forte sit in if it's during, office hours or whatnot. But so maybe that's kind of the route. That's kind of the route that I'm going on in my mind. So just wanted to see y'all's thoughts on that before we call for a workshop to discuss it.
Me and Jim McGarry is always, 9 times out of 10, when he does say something, he talks about some sort of a advocacy, something, and I thought, well, maybe this will be the time, so. But like I said, I wasn't trying to put any more work on staff. I mean, you guys got your hands full now, so.
Yeah, unless it's necessary, but
I
what are
don't
your thoughts?
necessarily believe we need another organized board, because there's a lot to that. And I think staff is kind of at their gills as it is with their workloads. So I could agree with something along the lines of what you're talking about. I have no idea what this would look like. So that's something I would have to sit down and give some thought to myself.
Okay. Any input, Mr. Johnson?
Well, I would think the first thing we would need to know is exactly what are they gonna do? What is he actually want? What is the plan for? Is it to help out the citizens in what way, and will it help them out financially? He talks about trying to increase the minimum wage for them and things like that, but we didn't.
Yeah, they can't do
We don't
that.
have any control over that. And
Right.
So what does it entail? I mean, if Jim comes up, he wants to have the idea, he should give us some kind of input of exactly what he wants us to do with this committee if we form a committee.
I agree, and there's other people in the community that could bring ideas to the table too. Off the top of my head, I think of Ariel, who was our
The one with the cleanup?
volunteer of the year, or citizen of the year, that does the cleanups and whatnot, that she's brought many ideas to Mr. Forte and to myself. Shoot, we got some ideas tonight from a board member sitting out here, Mr. Smith, that we approved a couple items in our consent agenda. Thank you for that, by the way. I know the time you spent on that, so appreciate that. So, I don't want to say no. I don't want to sit up here and say no, but I do think that it is too much of a burden to put on staff for something we don't officially need. I don't want to say advisory on, because we need advisory from the citizens. That's what our job is. But I just mean that, maybe what we can do is instead of call for a workshop, I can talk to a few of these people that I have in mind that I think are active in the community and could have some good ideas, and see if they have ideas for a board. And if so, then they could bring it back to us. And I'm thinking along the lines of something that we just facilitate, help them with a meeting space. And,
Would we want to talk to Jim, or is Jim even,
well, yeah, we could talk to Jim as well.
has
I
he made
mean,
any requests as far as what he's talking about, or is he just throwing it out there?
He's putting it out there to see if you'll put a committee together. He doesn't really have, at least in my conversation,
Objectives.
he doesn't really have a direction of where this is going to go. He wants
Right.
to see how it's going to build. So
But we need to at least have a focus or a goal.
Correct.
I mean, that would be the first, so we even know what this board should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, when he comes up and says something, you'd think that he has a little more of an intentional
Maybe-
idea of what he's,
Maybe if you could get with him, Mr. Forte, and see if he could,
I have gotten with him.
He just hasn't, I've talked with him as well.
Yeah, so he's got an idea, he just doesn't have the details.
Right. I just don't see it as an official board, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying
and I
tonight.
agree with, we don't need a workshop for that.
Okay,
need
yeah.
an
We,
unofficial board.
we don't need a workshop until there's an actual
Right.
idea that we could actually workshop, so,
I'd be more than happy
We're not
to
going to
workshop.
establish a board, but if some community members want to get together, we will help facilitate a location.
help facilitate it, and I don't mind making calls to several people that I know that have asked about board positions and whatnot. I know, before being elected, I would have loved to be on a board like that, so.
Somebody
Or a committee or
needs to
whatever.
be the chairman or the head of that
Yes.
board, or there'll be no
Correct,
structure to it.
correct.
See, to me, that'd be.
And that's where we can help with guidance.
No, we're not appointing anybody.
No, we wouldn't appoint them, no, just let them be their own group.
It's good because that frees them up from not being subject to the sunshine law, the public records law.
Oh, if we appoint them?
If it's a city board, then it's sunshine law, public records law.
right.
All that comes into play. We can have a community group that can still come and make presentations to the city, but it's not officially created by the city, so those restrictive laws don't apply to them.
I
Okay,
think that's what we're looking for.
A citizens group that would create themselves, yeah, I'm good with that.
okay, cool. So let's kind of go down that path. If you want to talk to Jim, you can tell him what our conversation here is. I'm happy to talk with him too, but he needs to have more concrete ideas, and we're willing to help out. We're willing, to provide what we can, but not
Can't
staff,
sanction-
and it's
you
not
can't
going to be an
sanction it or
official
something,
board.
right? Is that what they
Does
call
that
it?
make sense, Joe?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, thank you. Is that all?
that's it for me.
All right, Mr. Simpson.
No comments.
All
What's
right,
that?
you were holding up 3. I thought you had 3
I'm
items. Oh, okay. Mrs. Manning. All right. So I'll start first tonight, and I'll try to be very quick. I already said happy Valentine's Day and happy birthday to my wife, but I wanted to, and Mr. Forte, I wanted to make sure, in this last budget, did we budget for the replacement of the drones in this budget? Do you know?
No, what we're doing is we're going to be surplusing the drones and selling them, and the monies that we get from them will put toward the purchase of another drone, and any monies that are needed will probably come out of the second dollar fund.
Okay. And so will then that be purchased this year?
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay, if we can get them. Good, because I think it's a great program, so I want to make sure that we still have those. Also tonight came up with the shortage of trucks, and we ended up having a savings by purchasing a year-old vehicle. My thoughts are, and maybe this comes up in budget time, but that is there a way we can specifically do that? I know we want to purchase new, so we have no problems with vehicles and warranties and all that stuff, but tonight, the vehicles we purchase, as far as I'm aware, we're still going to have all the warranties that we would normally have. Is there a cost savings to purchase 1 to 2 year old vehicles?
Well, we don't want to purchase used,
Right,
so we try to purchase new. The
One-
22 Ford F-150 that we're buying, it's coming from the dealership, but it's a leftover from 2022. So it still has all the same warranties that a new vehicle comes with. The problem is they're just not being manufactured fast enough, and everybody is buying Ford 150 and 250 vehicles. So the state contract has the Fords, so they're getting more and more difficult to come by until they start ramping up productivity. So we even looked at the option of using another maker of a pickup truck, and for whatever reason, everybody just seems to feel like the Ford is the work truck of pickup trucks, and that's what they want to stay with.
Okay.
This is brand new, no mileage, I mean, minimal, whatever.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Right.
it's just a leftover.
I just think it's interesting to look at during budget time, because I appreciated the savings that
Yeah,
you
but we
had.
always, there's not often a truck left over. So we
Right.
can't put an order in for a leftover truck. They're only left over if they're.
Yeah, if there's none this year for 2023, there might
Right.
not be any in 24.
Yeah, and like I said, we usually purchase either off the state contract or off of a sheriff's contract or off of a contract, usually out of Bartow. They have a state contract for pickup trucks.
Okay. And two, I want to thank you for ensuring our policy for surplusing things are followed to the letter of the law, and we will continue that, and that's what
It's
I'm going to
getting
say
tighter.
tonight. And so I appreciate that, Mr. Forte. And also, I had the state of the county on there, but you already brought that up. And the last thing is the McDonald's event. I just got an email this Friday, February 17th, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at our Holly Hill McDonald's. We're going to have NASCAR Cup drivers, Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick there. And unfortunately, I can't be there because Tyler Reddick is one of my favorite NASCAR drivers, so would have loved to meet him. But if anyone else is available from 2 to 7, I think they're going to be there.
2-6.
2 to 6.
Oh, 2 to 6, you're right, 2 to 6. I think they're going to be there around 2:30 to 3 o'clock, so if anyone wants to go out and meet some Cup drivers, they'll be here in our city. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the last thing is, I'm sure everybody's going to talk about it, is the Pictona event was great. I'll leave that to you all to talk about, and I look forward to working with Pictona and the board to promote Holly Hill. Very much so, and put that forward, and so I'm looking forward to that conversation coming up here in the near future. So, and I will leave it at that. So tonight, we'll start with Commissioner Curry.
Thank you. And I did have some things to talk about with Pictona. The APP event was awesome. I've not seen such high-level playing, and it was awesome. And that comes from a pickleball lover now. I was converted. But also just the crowds that attended. I mean, the vibe over there was awesome. Everybody was complimenting our city and the facility. And, I mean, I really do believe that we're going to see an economic impact over the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be significant. But just with these tournaments, I don't know if you get any of it, but some of our local restaurants that are nearby, they get people all the time from the tournaments. And I'm not sure if they come down your way or not, but, so our businesses are feeling that. The only one complaint that I had was ESPN. ESPN was great. They did streaming. I had to go home and do a homeowners association meeting, ride my bike home real quick. I watched it on live streaming while we conducted the meeting, and went back. But my only problem, and actually one of my friends went over and said something, because I said, I really need to go over there and say something. That kind of just peeves me a little bit. The ESPN commentator was referring to it as Daytona. Nothing against Daytona, but Daytona didn't want it, and Daytona didn't put a penny into it. I don't think they should be getting the credit. I don't think it's the fault of the Martins, Pictona. I think it's a bigger picture with the network. But I think if maybe we can sit down and talk to the Martins, possibly, we could figure out between us and them some ways to better promote that it's Holly Hill. And I know, because I talked to Reiner this weekend several times, and he has a love for Holly Hill as if he lived here. And I know he wants that, because he wants to make Holly Hill bigger with the name. So I don't necessarily think it's a problem there. I think, again, it's with the network. But I think if we come up with some solutions between us and them, we might be able to kind of take care of some of that. But other than that, it was an awesome event. I was there Thursday through Sunday, and awesome. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, besides the Daytona thing, is the parking. Parking is a problem. I can tell you that a lot of people did get usage out of the Public Works back, I'll call it the back parking lot. I don't know what else to call it.
Arthur Burns Frisbee Park.
I did speak to Mr. Forte a little bit about this, but that's a perfect area for us to utilize for parking. We will have no more parking woes, if you will, for those big tournaments. There was a lot of people that parked in there. I believe it was on, when did we have the rain? Saturday?
Saturday.
So Sunday, there was a lot more people that utilized that because they couldn't use all of Pictona now. And I would like us to think about, and maybe workshop, I don't care about workshopping, the possibility of putting a little bit of money in that, or actually, I'll take a step back. I want to see what it would cost to maybe put down some shell rock and level that out some and just make it a little nicer. If people are coming to our community for this, they're seeing this beautiful complex. I don't want them seeing the back part of Public Works the way it is. I think a few things need to be moved, and then maybe we could just level some of that area out. I'm not talking about dumping, asphalt and then have to have stormwater. I'm not talking about all that. But maybe like shell or rock or something to make the parking lot a little nicer, for them to be able to park there. And it's close enough for people. If they're going there to play pickleball, they're willing to walk that little bit of a distance. I don't think we need to bother with a shuttle or any of that. But how do you guys feel about the possibility of making that more of an official overflow parking lot?
Are we talking about the Public Works yard?
Yeah. Would you guys be willing to have Mr. Forte look into some options and come back to us with that, and then we could workshop it?
Yeah, I would be fine, Mr. Forte, if you found out some options for us. I don't know if shell's the right way, but also maybe too, we need to look into, because a lot of it too that you're talking about aesthetically is probably seeing Public Works in all its glory over there.
We would, if we did it, my thought would be there's the area that you're familiar with, which is where we do the hurricane sandbagging.
Sandbag, all right.
But run that a little bit further west to take up the entire back, leveling that out, putting some kind of material down that'll be stable enough to park, but it'll still remain pervious for rainwater. Putting up an 8-foot fence along the back to separate the Public Works complex from the parking lot, clear delineation. You could even put some landscaping back there that eventually will grow and fill in so that you really don't have that visibility, although I still want to have a gate back there for our vehicles that if they need to get through, they could. And then we'll just see what the cost would be to do it.
Yeah, and so that's the main question is the cost. I don't want to spend
Yeah, and
a lot
that's-
of money to
I told him today I don't want to spend a lot of money.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm in
happy-
agreement.
I'm happy with you finding a low-cost option that maybe could do that. And while we're talking about that, sorry to jump on this, but I really want to look to fund a sand bagger. One of the machines.
Oh, those
We've talked
machines?
about it, and just keep it on the back of your mind when budget comes around, because I've been out there several times to shovel for citizens, and I get looped into it for sometimes hours on end.
So we have a sandbagger,
What?
and we have a
Yeah,
sandbagger.
we got you.
Oh, no.
We don't need one. You're still
I'm worn
young.
out.
Just gotta feed you.
Oh, you're young.
I'm worn out.
And oil you. and
Okay,
Yeah.
so how does everybody feel about the possibility of getting with the Martins about how we can better
Yes.
project our city instead of the Daytona image?
Yeah, unfortunately,
Definitely.
it's kind of, I wouldn't say between a rock and a hard place.
But I think they would be able to have some input because they
Yeah, they
would
gotta be
probably
more
know more
central.
from that angle than we do. I mean, maybe Chris knows a little bit
Yeah.
because he's dabbled in some of that stuff, but I
Yeah.
just think maybe it's a good idea if we try that.
Mr. Forte and I talked about this at length yesterday. I was very upset to watch what we built for this community. What our vision was, and what we said all along, was to put Holly Hill on the map. And I talked a lot about CBS and ESPN, and when they come in and they say live from Holly Hill, Florida, the capital of pickleball. And instead, what I heard was, welcome to Daytona Beach.
Yep.
Wow, look at this Daytona Beach picture of this, and this Daytona Beach, and this, and this, and this. And I understand. I understand that Daytona Beach is the well-known name city. But it used to not be before
Driving on the beach.
racing and driving on the beach, just like any other city known for anything that they are known for. And so I just believe, I agree with you, Commissioner, that I don't think it was done by the Martins or done by the board or done by Pictona
No.
where they said, hey, yeah, let's use Pictona. I know that the tournament came in and wanted to use that name, and in that respect, it's out of their hands. But at the same time, I think that I want it to be known that we are pushing that. And if we have a board at Pictona that actually doesn't ask ESPN and doesn't ask CBS to hey, would you consider using Holly Hill instead of the famous Daytona Beach? I think if they say, you need to say live from Holly Hill, Florida, and that is what we need as a city, because you're right. Daytona Beach didn't pay a single cent into what we invested here. They also didn't give up a park, a very well-established jewel that to many people, that was historic for many families here, including my own family. And so we gave a lot. Our staff gave a lot. We invested a lot of time and energy, and so we deserve the credit, meaning the city of Holly Hill
Right.
deserves that credit to be put on the map for that, not Daytona Beach, who turned it down. So I'm in complete agreement. I think that we need to meet with the Martins and the board and work with them to relay our concerns and then ideas on how that we can actually promote Pictona as Holly Hill, not Daytona Beach.
Does anybody else
I
agree?
think we're at a disadvantage with just the name Pictona.
But if we don't start now,
Yeah, no, I
we'll never
agree.
get anywhere.
Yeah.
Because that's the thinking that happened in the 1950s. That's the thinking that happened in the 1960s, 70s, 80s. That's what happened when Mayor Altavilla built a sign at our city limits. I shared this with Joe that said, "Welcome to Daytona Beach, vacation area." And in small letters said,
Holly Hill.
City of Holly Hill. That's the kind of thinking that got us here, and I'm tired of that thinking. I'm tired of being that. If we don't try, then we won't be it. We
Let me
just
tell you.
give up. So
I'm totally in
it starts
agreement.
now,
I was
and this
as
is the project to do it on.
proud as I could possibly be sitting over there this past weekend and watching everything and talking to people. I was so proud. But then I get a little deflated every time I hear Daytona. It's not Daytona Beach. I get a little obsessive over it. So that's why I said I better not go talk to that person because it might not turn out so well. But my friend went over and said something. So can you facilitate a meeting for all of us, please?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, that's all I had.
Thank you. I wasn't going to get into that tonight, but you made me.
Well, I'll twist your arm.
Is that all?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner
Well, I was
Daniel.
gonna just thank my girls for showing up, but they bailed out on me, so.
They left.
No need to thank them, but, thanks for, putting up with my invocation and,
No,
Happy
It was
Valentine's
good. I
Day.
was kidding. I was kidding.
I'm good.
All right, Commissioner Johnson.
Like I said, a couple of things about the pickleball thing. It's, everybody looks at this like, this is Holly Hill, but it is actually the Daytona Beach area. And everybody looks at it as the Daytona Beach area. I mean, would you have ever heard of Indianapolis if it wasn't Indianapolis Motor Speedway? Would you have heard of probably Daytona is famous because of the Speedway sporting events? So if we promote our great sporting events enough, our city name will start getting out. It's not going to do it right away. It is not going to project out there instantly. As you get it going, it's going to do it. But you're not going to influence the media. To start with, you can't believe anything they say anyway. So if the media says it's in Daytona, you can most likely think it's somewhere else, you know. I've learned that a long time ago about the media, you know what I mean? So and a lot of people don't pay any attention to what the media says anyway.
They drink the grape juice, those people, that's the problem.
Everybody knows when they come. One of the things that really bothered me a lot, and I never said much about it, is we should have put the lettering on that water tower. So when people coming in off I-95, they would see it's Holly Hill. You can't see it's Holly Hill until you get this side of Nova Road, you know what I mean, on the water tower. If it was lettered good on the water tower, you could see it from Derbyshire, you know, coming in off the interstate. Say, this is Holly Hill up ahead. So you need to project your own image a little bit to make it, to let people see what it is. And one of my big concerns, I know it sounds like a broken record, you're not going to project a big amount of anything as long as you just got a two-lane road coming into it, you know what I mean? We've got to start thinking about whatever it takes with the CRA, or whatever we have to do to we have to figure some way to widen that LPGA to make that pickleball work right.
Commissioner, I'll just give you a quick update. Brian's been working diligently on putting the application together to the TPO to do the study for LPGA. That's due on February 28th, but we're going to get it in tomorrow to get
Brian's doing that?
Brian's working on that.
Good job, Brian.
Good guy working on that, for sure.
And
We'll get it done.
we'll send it in tomorrow and get comments back, and we'll get a final document that we'll submit, and hopefully we'll get a study funded through the TPO. So we are moving on it.
Because the last TPO meeting, it was brought up that they said it was 95% of the people didn't want the Pioneer Trail project.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it was 95% of the people that actually protested or come out and responded to it, which nobody's going to respond to it or do anything
Right,
with it.
if
It's
they
positive.
agree,
It's always
right.
going to be the negative side.
Right.
So it's pretty well brought up. If it's 550,000 residents in Volusia County, how could you figure that 95% of those people protested against the Pioneer Trail thing? And it's just totally ridiculous. It's just a handful that is against it, but they claim it's 95% because it's only 95% of the people that are against it, not the ones that are for it or something. So we got the first phase of that approved, which is mostly because the federal, as best I can figure, the federal government wants it for an evacuation route. So Pioneer Trail would be another evacuation route to come out to the interstate. And all we was trying to do was get it approved to accept the funding from the federal government to start the project. And people go all out against it like, we're going to stop the whole project. It wasn't really to do with that. It's just to accept the funding. That's the first phase, but it's going to get done. I've come off Pioneer Trail. You come off Pioneer Trail, you got to go east quite a ways, south to 44, back over again to interstate and back up to come back up. So you're running around in a circle where you could just get right off the interstate or something. So it's really good. But the main thing is
And it was already in the long-term plan to do
a
anyway.
long-term plan.
Yeah.
And then they're going to do, I finally got it out of them on what they're going to do up at I-95. It's going to be like a diamond. That's actually the oldest exit on I-95 in Florida, is the Winter Ormond up here. It's been there since, I'd say the mid-'60s, or at least the late '60s. I know I remember seeing that much. That's probably before you was born, right?
Yeah, well before.
But they're gonna make a diamond there because there's not enough land to do a clover leaf, so that's where they're gonna put it in the same place. It looks like, but that's like a 2026 project. But we need, getting back to the point is, we really need to have, if you're gonna have events or anything you gotta have, you've got to have a way into it and away from it, you know what I mean? You got to do that, and you can have a parking problem. I mean, you don't worry about a parking problem unless you get the vehicles into it on the road to start with, you know what I mean? Which is a good thing, I think, to have increased parking, because everywhere you go anymore, it seems like parking is a problem, really it is, you know what I mean? Unless you got a little tiny little car or a scooter or something, but and away from that, hopefully, that Brian can really push this issue and get something at least started on the LPGA to do something with it, because it really needs to be done, Brian. And it needs to be done all the way, it needs to be done all the way to 92, really, LPGA does.
You know, I agree with you,
All the way
Commissioner.
out there.
Commissioner Fort, or,
Mayor,
City Manager.
while we're submitting this application for a study, you know, we've ruled out the 3-lane option that we've already done the feasibility study on, and we're looking at the 4-lane option. Do you want us to have them take a look at the 2-lane eastbound only option and just see
I
if?
don't.
No, not at
I
all?
don't. I don't
That
know
would
if
be
the
a
commission does.
problem, really, that would be a problem.
I see the community being against it, and it's.
Just figure while they're doing a study, just throw it on there and let them come back, and they get, you know, maybe they would rule it in, maybe they would rule it out. I just didn't know if you want to include
Oh,
it.
so it would be included in the whole community study that
study.
would go out to judge, then,
Just to get
I think we need to
feedback.
figure out any options or all.
and actually, if it's that way, maybe.
See what options they have.
I wouldn't be opposed to doing that at this point.
Just to get
If
the
it's
study done.
You can do it multi-level, put one lane down, one up.
Yeah,
Horizontal bridge.
get ready for the Jetsons age.
Or maybe we could do one
We don't need roads.
do an underground one, like a tunnel. So, there's several ways of doing it, just look at it, all different angles of doing it, but, you know, I think it was one of the presidents, I think it was the actor out of California was the president, Ronald Reagan. I think he said one time, it's amazing how much more we can do if you don't really mind who gets the credit.
Amen.
You know what I mean? But the thing about it is, it's not just getting the credit, you really want the recognition for the city of Holly Hill, rather than, we don't want to make it look like Holly Hill is below Daytona. Daytona has everything and Holly Hill's nothing or something like that. It's a good thing. I think that that'll come, it'll take time to do that. I just don't think it's going to be an instant thing. You know, as it goes along, pickleball will get more popular. A lot of people don't even know what pickleball is yet, you know what I mean? So it gets more popular, and people will start learning more about it. And then Holly Hill's going to get more popular, because have a nice road coming into it, nice roads going out of it and all that, nice parking for it. And it's going to be good like Daytona Speedway or something, you know what I mean? And some of the other events, you know, the other thing is we'll hear talk about things, cost of things going up, like the asphalt, the roads, and everything. And I really do. I didn't just say that I wish prices would go down and things like that. I really do wish, because I projected when I was going to do my project that actually back, what was it, a couple of years ago, I think, or last, is Brian started putting code enforcement violations against me. And now I've come quite a ways with it. He'd have to come and look at it again, Brian, but code enforcement works. Code enforcement works. And I didn't have any code enforcement fines, so I just decided to get the people out that was causing the problem and start all over and do it. And I figured out and had a lot of people come to me and say, this project will cost you $300,000 to do it. Can you do this? So I said, well, $300,000, we can do that, I'm sure. But now the honest fact on paper, it's cost me more than 3 times that much so far. And I'm not saying more lightly. I'm saying it's cost me more than 3 times that $300,000 already. That's cost me that much. You know what I mean? So it needs to get going. It looks good. It really does. I went and looked at it
It is
today.
looking
I got
good.
one rare day that I didn't have to go to St. Augustine, so I spent time in the area and did some other projects and I went by and looked at everything on it. It looks good. That's why I invited Joe to come by and Brian to come by if you can to look at it or something to see.
Looks very nice.
But just remember, prices are increasing. The Fed is trying to lower the inflation by keeping increasing the interest rates, which is hurting the stock market real bad, but they think they're curbing inflation by it, but so far it hasn't worked, so we will see. But if anybody has a chance, just go by and look at the sports center. We got a nice, beautiful sports center right on the south side of us. We're going to have a state-of-the-art sports center there. We got the Pictona. Well, I haven't heard much about the rock climbing thing lately, but I hope that's still in the works. I don't know.
Sent him an email yesterday, didn't hear back.
Nothing back yet on that. So hopefully we can do more and more and more sports in Holly Hill. And the more sports we do in Holly Hill, the more we're going to put Holly Hill on the map, believe me. If that's what we want, let's put the sports things on it, and we'll get Holly Hill on the map.
Amen. Well said. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Is there anything further from the commission? Is there any further business? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Okay, this thing?